Hello you cheeky scams, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com and we need to talk about WB in the DCEU. Again, the pain just never ends, does it? Because while Aquaman became the highest grossing DC film of all time in December, which is probably more of a testament to how much everyone just wants to bone Jason Momoa than anything else, Warner Brothers comic book franchise hasn't experienced an easy ride to get back to that level of success. Despite their best intentions, most of their releases have fallen afoul to controversy and negative critical consensus. To their credit though, WB have pushed forward with this whole shared universe business where so many other companies have crumbled under their own failures. RIP the Dark Universe, we hardly knew you. And with the release of Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the soon-to-be released Shazam, the future actually looks fairly bright for the studio's series of superhero films. But what's fallen through the cracks is just what the hell is actually happening with Jared Leto's Joker movies. Well, according to Forbes, both the Harley Quinn / Joker rom-com spin-off thing and Leto's own solo Joker movie have been cancelled for good. No official reason has been given, but with WB gearing up for a whole new era of DC filmmaking and with Leto making his own commitments elsewhere, the picture that ends up being painted isn't all that complicated. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com and this is why DC just cancelled Jared Leto's Joker movies. Number 6. Warner Brothers are restructuring their future DC projects. It's been made clear since the middle of 2018 that Warner Brothers were keen on restructuring their plans for DC's future. At the time, Zack Snyder and Jeff Johns were the two principal architects of the franchise, but with back-to-back duds and a commercial disappointment in Justice League, something obviously needed to change. Before Justice League though, WB had gone ahead and announced several new films, including The Flash, now on hold, Cyborg, Status Unknown, and a David Ayer-helmed Gotham City Sirens, which is completely cancelled, and the aforementioned Joker starring Jared Leto. Aquaman, despite being part of that initial slate, boasted a drastically different tone compared to its predecessors, and it ended up dominating the box office. Shazam 2 looks like a massive tonal departure compared to the likes of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and given what we've seen of Birds of Prey so far, it's likely that film will follow suit as well. Warner Brothers are clearly taking the franchise in a different direction compared to when Snyder and Johns were at the helm. The latter is still said to be involved in some capacity, but DC's future projects already indicate that they're trying something new. Among the films said to be currently in active production include Green Lantern, a reboot that'll focus on Lantern's Hal Jordan and John Stewart, a whole new Suicide Squad film helmed by the Guardians of the Galaxy's James Gunn, Matt Reeves' Batman reboot sans Ben Affleck, and Supergirl herself is even said to be replacing the Man of Steel for the time being. Add to that Ava DuVernay's New Gods, which will be an adaptation of Jack Kirby's cosmic Fourth World Saga, and you have a slate that differs drastically to the one WB announced years ago, which included the likes of Nightwing, Deadshot, and a new take on Justice League Dark. That's a lot of movies they've gone through, more than enough to take WB's attention away from Joker. Number 5. Leto's Joker wasn't well received. Even before Suicide Squad released, it was obvious that the film was going to be divisive. Sure, it had a deceptively great second trailer set to the tune of Bohemian Rhapsody, a song so good it single-handedly got last year's Queen biopic a Best Picture nomination, but it didn't distract fans from lingering on Leto's Joker. A number of set photos and promotional shots had emerged months before any footage was actually shown, and there was an immediate furor surrounding the character's look. Not to mince words, but he looked less like a clowning supervillain and more of a big daft Facebook gangster who decided to wear his personality literally on his sleeve. And no one needs reminding about the damaged tattoo emblazoned across his forehead. All I'm saying is that this Joker definitely had a Tumblr in 2010. Of course, issues with Leto's Joker incarnation stemmed far beyond just his aesthetic. His performance simply paled in comparison to those who came before, with Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, and Heath Ledger all turning in far more memorable turns as the Clown Prince than Leto, who didn't even have a decent laugh to fall back on. There were obvious issues script-wise too, but given Leto's antics behind the scenes, it doesn't seem disingenuous to say that he just didn't understand the character. He reportedly sent all sorts of presents to his co-stars, including a dead rat and even some condoms to get into character. And look, there's no kink shaming here, but the problem is none of this has anything to do with the Joker whatsoever. I mean, do you think old Joker takes the precaution of using protection? You just know this dude is absolutely riddled. And yes, the Clown Prince does clown around on the regular, but Leto's on-set creepiness only laid the foundations for a thoroughly obnoxious depiction of Batman's greatest villain. and one WB were obviously eager to get away from, given how Joaquin Phoenix is now playing his own version of the character. Number 4. They've realized they don't need the character anymore. To begin with, Harley Quinn was synonymous with the Joker. She was created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm to be a henchman for the Clown Prince in the legendary Batman the Animated Series, but by the time the show neared its conclusion, it was becoming apparent that the character was turning into a force of her own. Quinn soon made the leap to DC's main comics, where she became a recurring character in the publisher's vast array of Bat books. These stories too bore Dini's influence, with many electing to expand upon the premise featured in the classic Batman the Animated Series episode Harley and Ivy, where Quinn leaves the Joker for good and embarks on a series of capers with Poison Ivy. By the time the New 52 emerged in 2011, Harley and the Joker couldn't have been further apart. Quinn had joined the Suicide Squad, and her once beloved Puddin had literally lost his face and tried to murder her. And today, they're practically enemies, with the Joker using his abusive hold over Quinn to try and tempt her back. Point being, the Harley of today no longer has that same synonymy with the Joker, to the point where she's become one of DC's most popular figures. And now they no longer need the Joker, really, and there's much more appeal in seeing her break free from that relationship than seeing her confined within it. And hey, don't take my word for it, just check out the sheer amount of material published where the characters don't even share the same page. Number 3, a Joker/Harley film wouldn't have been appropriate. To longtime readers of DC Comics, and even to longtime viewers of DC animation, there is only one thing to describe the relationship between Harley Quinn and the Joker as being: abusive. Although Quinn's origins have changed over the years, one element tends to remain consistent. She's a brilliant psychiatrist who's assigned to Arkham to profile the Joker. Over the course of their sessions, the Clown Prince manipulates Quinn into falling in love with him, breaking him out of Arkham, and into becoming his new accomplice. At no point does he illustrate even a hint of love for Quinn, using her merely as a means to an end and repeatedly mistreating her in most depictions, to the point of nearly killing her in mad love. Except in Suicide Squad, this relationship was completely flipped on its head. Instead of there being an abusive dynamic, David Ayer elected to depict the pair almost like a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde, resulting in an awkward fandom that began to idolize their relationship. Seriously, how many couples do you know who've dressed up as Harley and the Joker for Halloween? It looks cool as hell, don't get me wrong, but that's like people saying they idolize Romeo and Juliet. They both died, for Christ's sake. But I digress. And when the movie was first announced, The Hollywood Reporter referred to the project as When Harry Met Sally on Benzedrine, which couldn't possibly be further from how this relationship is seen in the comics. Factor in the precedent that was established in Suicide Squad, and it was clear to see, even back then, that a Joker/Harley rom-com was probably a bad idea. Number 2. Leto is now committed to Sony's Marvel spin-offs. Jared Leto, whether you like him or not, is an actor in demand at the moment. His performance as Joker in Suicide Squad was followed by an extensive role in Blade Runner 2049 before appearing in Netflix's critically panned The Outsider the following year. As his 2 Joker projects refused to gather pace, Sony began to move ahead with their own series of Spider-Man spin-offs, beginning with this year's Venom. Subsequent films were announced as well, with Silk, Kraven, and Black Cat leading the way, but then an unusual name was thrown into the ring: Morbius, the Living Vampire. Big Morbs is a longtime Spider-Man villain turned anti-hero, and shortly after the project was announced, it was revealed that Leto had won the race to land the role. Seeing as how appearing in Marvel and DC films at the same time is a bit of a no-no, it stands to reason that DC were left with little alternative than to cancel Leto's commitments outright. Number 1. They're taking a different approach to Harley. As was previously mentioned, Harley Quinn has quickly become one of DC's most popular properties over the last few years. The release of Suicide Squad catapulted the character into newfound heights of popularity, and with Margot Robbie committed to the role for at least the next few years, WB have finally been alerted to the character's franchise potential. The character is going to get top billing in Kathy Yan's upcoming Birds of Prey film as well, and although that too is another ensemble, it seems a given that Quinn will occupy an integral role. Compared to Suicide Squad 2 and Gotham City Sirens, where Quinn would have likely played a not-so-important role under Ayer's guidance, it's understandable as to why WB have opted to let the character move forward on her own, with new allies and without the Joker. Given how most of Quinn's success in recent years has stemmed from her not being with the Joker at all, separating the character and ditching Leto altogether is actually way more obvious than it probably seems, especially now that he's contracted to Sony's universe of Marvel spin-off characters. Joaquin Phoenix is giving up for a new Elseworld-style take on the character away from the DCEU continuity, and let's face it, which villain would you rather have leading a franchise? This guy or this guy. Without Letos Joker holding her down, Quinn has all the freedom she needs to survive, thrive, and usher in a whole new era of DC stories. So Letos Joker movies are no more. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Why do you think WB haven't agreed to push ahead with them? And are you a bit gutted that you aren't actually going to see them in the flesh? Either way, can you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more list news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, you've been watching What Culture, and I'll see you soon. Bye.